It's another season of Monday Night Sports Talk. Welcome in to the Air Network and our new station, 94.1 FM in Huntingdon. It's a new season of Monday Night Sports Talk. Welcome in, everyone. I am Greg Banks, the anchor position, I guess, this year. Being joined tonight on this very special night with Dave Shannon, longtime announcer, of course, from the central Pennsylvania area, and longtime videographer, and just all-around nice guy, fantasy guy, Jimmy Tighe is with us tonight. Guys, how you doing? Dave first, and then Jimmy. How you making out, Dave?
Oh, it's been an interesting beginning to the fall as we've been doing the Huntingdon Bearcats games here on the airnetwork.net and 94.1 FM in Huntingdon. What a football team that Coach Hootie has in front of him this season. And, a number of the guys back from last year. And you look at the talent level on that team, and you're just impressed every time you watch them play football. But it's going to be they're coming into the tough part of their schedule here, and that's going to begin this week. So getting ready for that. Still reveling in another Stanley Cup.
And we'll talk about those and other subjects coming up on this special edition of Monday Night Sports Talk. Jimmy, how you making out down there in Hamburg, PA? Eastern PA, I might add. You might be making a quick move to where is that town again?
I'm going to be moving to Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania on September 30th. They're shutting down the Hamburg Center, and we're all getting transferred out. So I got transferred over to Selinsgrove State Center.
All right.
But everything is great down here in Hamburg. You know, it's beautiful fall weather. It's just perfect down here.
I think this is the best time of the year. We've got football, we've got baseball, we've got hockey coming up, Dave. And, of course, for those of you that might be interested, NBA. But we'll talk about all these and other subjects coming up tonight. Let's ask you this first question. It is one of those prayerful, thoughtful days that happened, it seems like not so long ago, 16 years ago, 9/11, a day we'll never forget. I just want to kind of kick it around here real quick, maybe a minute. Your thoughts on where you might have been at the time you heard of course, the Twin Towers and, of course, the first plane hitting or the second plane. In my situation, I was producing the Game of the Week. Matter of fact, that was our first year in 2001 when we were actually independent contractors moving around the state doing games for what was then, I believe, Charter Communications. And I called up Jim Penna, who was the news anchor at Fox 8. He was the announcer for that upcoming game between Conemaugh Township and Windber. And he said, hold on a second. I think a plane just hit a building. And the rest was history. No games that week. Dave, where were you and what were you thinking at that time?
Well, it always changes things when you're working at a broadcast facility. At the time, I was working at one in State College, PA. And the first plane hit. We were aware of that, and I did this thing. In case you don't know, folks, a lot of what goes on in radio is not people that actually get to sit down and host radio shows anymore. They pre-record little inserts that run between the music.
Right.
And I was in the midst of doing that, thinking, because we had seen the first plane hit, and the scope of it wasn't immediately obvious. It looked like, because how big the Twin Towers were, it looked like a small airplane hit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we had no idea exactly what was going on. And I started to do my work on what would have been the evening program that would have been on when the second plane flew in. And not too long after that was the Pentagon. And then eventually we heard about the plane coming down at Shanksville and Flight 93. And eventually then we became aware of the fact that this was an obvious terrorist attack. And, of course, what I was working on was meaningless because all of the stations at that time broke into coverage of the attacks on the United States. And that was the way that day went on. What I was immediately shocked by was one of my hobbies over the years has been bowling. And because of the nature and how severe this was and what was going on, the president was going to make his address, I think at 7:30 or something that evening. And I was shocked that the bowling center would not cancel the league on that particular night. So we had to show up and go bowling, which to me made no sense at all because here's our country under attack.
Right.
And yet we had to show up at the bowling alley to bowl.
Right.
And it's like, I'm sorry, that's not very sacred. Bowling is not sacred.
Right.
Those people that just lost their lives and our concern about them is more of a sacred thing to me than having to show up at a bowling alley to bowl. So that was my day, and the week got even worse.
Oh, yeah, and we'll talk more about that later. But, Jimmy, your thoughts real quick before we head into the show. On 9/11, where you were 16 years ago and what was happening.
Well, whenever the first planes crashed into the World Trade Center, I was like any kid. I was a young 20-year-old at the time. I was in bed, sleeping.
Okay.
And I woke up because I had to work that day because I was working with you, Greg, at Charter Communications.
Right.
And my mom calls me up and says, turn TV on. So I turned it on. I'm like, okay, what is this? And she said, your father is going to Shanksville. And she explained why, because my dad at the time, he was still in the Army. And I was like, okay, I had no idea what was going on until I got to work. And I was talking to our old coworker, Greg, Paul Kolick.
Yeah.
And we were watching TV. Then it hit me. Oh my God, because the whole city of Johnstown was shut down.
Yeah.
Because where the plane hit in Shanksville, and where my parents live and where I was living at, it was like 5 minutes from the Johnstown airport. Mm-hmm. So we knew sports were going to be canceled that night. I was a producer, videographer, writer for the show at the time called Inside Sports.
Right.
And the only school that had anything going on was my old high school, Greater Johnstown Votech. They had a volleyball game that night, and I didn't really want to go up there, but we needed video for the show, so I went up to Johnstown Votech to shoot a volleyball game for Inside Sport. They were playing Shade High School, and came back, and that was about it. That was what happened on 9/11. Wow.
Yeah.
And like Dave said, with his bowling, our country was under attack.
Right.
They should have Votech should have canceled the volleyball game. I don't know why Doug Henry never did that.
Yeah.
It's still, mind-boggling, but that's what happened.
Well, everybody reacted a little bit differently, but we'll never forget where we were and what we were doing on 16 years ago on that fateful day, 9/11. So our thoughts and prayers still with the families that remain. Of course, they're doing memorials throughout the country tonight. And as we mentioned that, we also want to keep our thoughts and prayers with the folks in Florida and the folks in Houston and Texas area because they're still going through their stuff and had a moment of silence today in all those locations despite the stuff that they're going through. So this, by the way, of Monday Night Sports Talk, just a distraction from the real world. We understand that this is not going to solve anything. These are just the opinions of three guys tonight who are just hanging out. And if you'd like to join us, you can call us. Our studio lines are open, 814-506-0609. That's 814-506-0609. Monday Night Sports Talk for another season. I believe our 5th or 6th season, Dave, and we're looking forward to it. Let me ask you about this. I was looking forward to that Steelers season yesterday, and I'm thinking Cleveland Browns, how good can they be and how tough can they be? Until I got a chance to actually watch Deshaun, I believe his name was Kaiser, the quarterback for Cleveland Browns. They've got a future there, but let me ask you this. Things kind of changed there in the early moments of the game when that blocked punt occurred, and bada bing, the Steelers scored. Your feelings on the Steelers season already, on that game yesterday that they basically eked out against the Browns?
Yeah, I was fishing yesterday, so I got to see bits and pieces of it as I was fishing. And one of the things I saw was the end of the first half when the Steelers scored a touchdown at the end of the first half.
Right.
And we had been hearing so much about the Steelers, how the offense was going to be so much better and blah, blah, blah. And
right.
all I saw, a friend of mine was with me, and we watched the end of the first half, and it's like, how is this different than what we saw last year?
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger has to throw to Antonio Brown to score points.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, where's the rest of the diversity of this offense? Notice that Le'Veon Bell did not seem to have his usual step, and it's been constant in the media today.
Well, let's face it, the guy,
how much rust he had.
Yeah, he was really rusty. And Dave, I got to say, they were so out of sync because here again, you remember Ben and Antonio and some of those guys hadn't even been on the real practice field. I mean, maybe practice field, but in none of those preseason games together. Jimmy, I mean, what was your thoughts on that game yesterday as you watched it? The scoring went basically like the block punt by Chickalo, 7-0 touchdown. Browns quarterback Kaiser then scored on a run, tied at 7-7. Of course, the Steelers had loads of penalties. I mean, your thoughts on that game?
Oh.
Yeah, what happened?
On discipline there, and Dave hit the nail on the head. And I like to say, Bell should have been in training camp. He's thinking, I can skip training camp. I can go drink a couple margaritas at the beach, just chill out. I'll come back after the last preseason game, and I'll be Le'Veon Bell, the greatest running back in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Bell, that's not going to happen. He needed to be at training camp. He needed to take that money.
Yeah.
Whenever the Steelers offered it, so they can get that coherence with Brown, with Ben, with Bell.
Right.
The greatest pickup for the Steelers was James Conner, because if Bell's going to start struggling, they're going to be putting James Conner in.
And we saw Conner do some great things in the second half of that game. But let me give you more of the scoring. Steelers had loads of penalties in that second quarter. Bell did have, I believe it was 37 yards, or he actually had 3 carries and 3 yards. The longest gainer from Antonio Brown was that bomb, 61 yards on 2 plays. And then the other guy, Jesse James. Jimmy, I mean, he just looked incredible. He's like the new Heath Miller of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And they thought that getting that McDonald's was going to be, their answer.
Right.
Getting that, what's his name, Vance McDonald?
McDaniel, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, getting Vance McDonald was a plus for Jesse James, because that just upped his game.
Oh, no doubt.
A little bit more, saying, you're going to get this guy to replace me. I'm going to show you. That's why I scored 20 points in fantasy football.
And Dave, you know what? It really did look like it pissed off Jesse James, because they brought a veteran in, basically saying that, hey, this guy still is not an NFL player yet. He's got a couple of years to go. And James showed them yesterday, he's here for real, man. You know what I mean? Penn State guy.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to hear that, because the one downside to Jesse James has been his physical build. They were used to something there with Heath Miller, because he brought the blocking and the pass catching, into the fore for the Steelers, and the blocking was a big part of that. Mm-hmm. Jesse's just not as big as what Heath Miller was, and of course that means he's operating at a disadvantage somewhat, trying to take that position.
Right.
And I've always been a little bit concerned about that, but I saw last year, from the first season to last year, he definitely bulked up a little bit got bigger, realizing that that's one of his big roles as a Pittsburgh Steeler, is the blocking aspect of the tight end. Uh-huh. So he got better. But I was sitting here watching this Penn State game on Saturday, and it's like, I'm in my mind. It's like, wouldn't it be great if Gesicki would go to the Steelers?
And they, right now that's a future maybe impression that we all have. But Jesse James had a great day yesterday. 2 touchdowns.
Good. It's good to hear.
Yeah, he scored that first touchdown from Ben. It was a bomb, 14-7 at the half. Had about 45 seconds left on the half. And then James scored again in the third at the 5:37 mark, making it 21-10. Now, Jimmy, my question to you is, where in the hell was the pass defense yesterday? This Kaiser was lighting them up from end to end, and our corners are again suspect. William Gay, my God, where's his hands? He did light up somebody near the end of the game. He laid that guy out and got a flag for it. But, man, that secondary is going to have a rough year, man.
If the secondary gave up 18 points, let's say they gave up 18 points to the Browns, God, man, what are they going to do when Tom Brady comes?
Oh, my God.
That's all I'm going to say, And they thought that getting Joe Hayden was their savior.
Wow.
I will say this, Hayden is new to the system.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give Joe Hayden a little bit of slack.
Hey, come on, dude. He's a former Brown, too.
But
it's not like he came from a great
like you
team.
said, he's a former Brown.
Yeah.
He knows the Brown system.
Yeah.
William Gay, he's been pulling that same stuff off even last year.
Yeah.
William Gay should not be, should not even be a starter for the Steelers, honestly.
But you got to admit, man, the bright spot yesterday was T.J. Watt.
T.J. Watt.
Oh, man.
Well, and I think this
Unreal.
is, just to chime in the middle of all this, Greg, is the fact that I think defensively they got more concerned about, because this has always been a big part of the Steelers, is their ability to pass rush and also sack the quarterback. And I think they put a lot of emphasis on that in the way they drafted players and in the way they've been training over the course of the summer camp. And that's what they were concerned about, even though, and they're well aware that they have somewhat of a sieve when it comes to the secondary. But they've accomplished that part of the game that they've always been famous for, in the sacking that Pittsburgh is able to do. Well, and T.J. Watt came out to be a big part of that and also got that interception.
And Kaiser was sacked 7 times yesterday during the game. Now, there was a little bit of sort of something that made me really look at what was happening. Wilcox did get that, what was that catch? Wilcox hit Cox, touchdown. The Browns scored with about 3:36 left. Browns go for 2. Then James, of course, was really, as far as I'm concerned, was the workhorse yesterday for the Steelers. Now, there were some challenges in that game, and the bottom line was Antonio, given the fact that he gets loose, I think he's going to be dangerous again, Jimmy. Any impression in that game where we've got to work on some things as we get ready to face the Vikings this week?
Yeah, if Pittsburgh wants to keep winning football games, these teams are like the Vikings, the Patriots, the Texans. Any football team out there is going to see that Antonio is Ben's go-to guy.
Right.
He's the go-to guy. 3rd and 10.
Well, they double team
whatever it is. They'll double him.
Yeah.
So Martavis Bryant and them receivers. Got to get a lot of bit. They got to get better. Because it's going to be the Ben Brown show.
Well, you know what? They can do the Dink and Ducks with Jesse James. They can do the same thing with Martavius Bryant. I mean, there's a lot of room for improvement, Dave. I don't think Ben has lost anything. It's just a matter of them being out of sync yesterday. Again, remember, this was their real preseason for the starters because none of them, for all intents and purposes, really got a lot of work in those 4 games that we had a chance to kind of peek in on. They were trying to clear out their roster down to 53 guys. Give me some names, Jimmy, and I can't recall some of these guys that were impressive during preseason. They're now at Walmart, probably either dressing up or maybe they're greeting people. Some of them.
Justin Hunter.
Okay, there's a name.
The receiver.
Yeah.
Justin Hunter, the receiver. He was so impressive in the preseason that Pittsburgh decided, we're not going to dress you.
Yeah, okay.
Instead of dressing Landry Jones.
Okay.
They didn't even
How
dress
about
Josh Hobbs.
Well, did we keep him? I mean, we got to keep that guy.
Josh Hobbs.
Okay, thank God. That's
we
Dobbs.
have Josh Hobbs as our 3rd quarterback, but he didn't dress.
Yeah.
Justin Hunter didn't dress.
Okay.
That's 2 big names right there.
Right. We got some wiggle room. We got some wiggle room for the season, though, as the the Steelers still came out 28 to 31, or what was the final on that?
21-18.
There you go, 21-18. And you know what? I got to say, we gave them 18. So there's still hope as they get ready to face the Vikings. Let me ask you guys this. Dave, you probably were out fishing. You didn't get a chance to watch that Cowboys-Giants game. That's always a hell of a rivalry in the NFL, and what a way to kick off a Sunday night football. But again, did you get the impression, at least let me go to Jimmy, Dak Prescott, the guy is going to be one of the premier quarterbacks in the league?
I was really skeptical of him last year because he had Elliott.
Yeah.
And he had that offensive line. But watching him yesterday against the Giants, that dude's for real. That dude is for real, man.
Yep.
Going against the Giants D like that.
He's a keeper.
That dude's for real. That guy, he's a bona fide. In my opinion, right now, he's a bona fide star.
Oh, there's no doubt they got rid of Tony
Oh, my God, yeah.
Homo, right? He's like in the booth now or something like that. But let me ask you this.
Yeah, he's with CBS now.
Okay, so there was that controversy over Ezekiel Elliott. Supposedly he said, she said, and the commissioner was dead set to can this guy for 6 weeks without really even investigating it. And it turned out that the investigation was even untrue. Tie that in somehow, Jimmy, to the success or the failure of the Cowboys if Elliott does get canned for 6 games?
Oh, there is none because the Cowboys have reliable backups in Alfred Morris and Darren McFadden. So even if Elliott is one of the top running backs in the NFL,
right? Okay,
you have to remember that Alfred Morris was a one-time 1,000-yard rusher in Washington like 3-4 years ago, and so was McFadden whenever he played in Oakland.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So there is, you know what I mean? Just because Elliott's there, you know what I mean, doesn't make. Well, how should I say it? If Elliott was suspended,
yeah, it's not going to really hurt them.
It wasn't really going to matter.
Okay,
it wasn't really going to matter because they had them 2 great running backs at Morris and McFadden.
We'll see how that plays out. Dave, meanwhile, Colin Kaepernick still sitting on the sideline. Somebody obviously can use him, but he must be so tainted as far as taking that kneel down last year. When I see players now that are still kneeling down, giving the Black Power salute, some of them not even paying attention to the national anthem. I don't know what's your thoughts on that. I know we can get real controversial on this thing, but again, now when I see police are actually standing behind this guy, I'm not really sure what the hell he did wrong.
Well, I think that in Cleveland, the police there were not supposed to show up for security as they normally do at a Browns game because of what the Browns did.
They did last night. They were holding arm in arm. I think at that game they showed at the beginning.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think you would hope that the teams would do this individually and come up with a rule that they want, a code of conduct. I mean, if you're going to legislate, now here's the thing about the NFL. If you want to legislate what they wear on the field and the way they conduct themselves in regards to the game.
Touchdown dancing.
Wouldn't you maybe want to establish something that also regards the code of conduct when it comes to this particular issue?
Yeah.
Just to take it out of the mix. Do you want your league to be known as a political spokestage for people's causes? Or do you want it to be known for the game and the sport?
Well, you can see.
I think you want it to be known for the latter, and you want to try to, you're not taking away their freedom of speech by saying, look, you're not going to do this. This is league-wide.
Yeah.
The national anthem is going to be, you're going to stand. We don't care where you look, whether you look at the flag or not. If you want to look away from the flag, fine.
That's your prerogative.
But but you must stand, and we want this out of the conversation.
Well, let me ask you this, really.
And the other thing about Kaepernick, Kaepernick is not a good quarterback. I am so sick and tired of people saying,
is he better than Jay Cutler, though?
Avoided
is he better than Jay
Cutler?
The
fact that he did this because he kneeled. That's not why he's not been picked up.
No, but let me ask you, was he better than Jay Cutler and some of the other guys that are back in the league now after they retired?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. So it almost appears.
I don't think he's being ignored because he kneeled at a football game. I think he's being ignored because nobody can find a fit for him in their football team.
Well, I understand that Baltimore. I understand Baltimore is on the phone, and we'll see how that works out because I hate to see the guy shunned because of that one incident. Maybe we all misunderstood. But you know what, Dave? I think how you alleviate that problem, this is just my thought and maybe the feelings of other people, eliminate the national anthem altogether. Get them to sing God Bless America or, you know.
Well, what do you think? What do you think they're going to do if you do that? Well, what do you think Colin Kaepernick's going to do if you switch to God Bless America? It's going to be the same thing. You either eliminate the ceremony altogether.
That's what I'm saying.
Or you make a league-wide rule that says when the national anthem plays,
you come on the field.
You don't go down on a knee.
Yeah, come down. I say what you do is, in this instance, these are grown men. These are grown-ups. Do the national anthem because that's for the patriotism of the audience anyhow. Then let the players run out on the field. Then there's no question. Who cares about their politics now?
I think that's a good solution.
I think that's
Go ahead and do it that way.
What do you think, Jimmy? Well, I mean, in this whole thing.
I read a story where the Kansas City Chiefs, they played the first game of the season against the Patriots.
Right.
And the owner of the Chiefs flat out said, if anybody sits for the national anthem on my team, I'm going to, cut them.
He basically,
and that's what I was getting to.
I'm going to cut him.
Was, you would hope the teams would do it.
Yeah. So who sits on who? Yeah. So the Chiefs are like, oh yeah. I don't want to get cut from my team.
No.
There's only one player that sat for the Chiefs.
Yeah. Yep.
Marcus Peters, their starting cornerback.
Okay, and is he still with the
team?
All-Pro,
and he's still with them.
Okay.
Nothing happened.
But listen, if I am the guy that is, if I'm the owner and I'm setting the culture of my business, and I decide I want all of my employees to salute the flag, or maybe just like some of the college teams, you all wear a blazer and it's the same color. You know what I'm saying? When you get on that bus, if that's what I choose to do and I'm the boss, you either follow the rules or you get the hell out. I think that's how that works.
And I would like to say, Greg, this past summer, Jen, my ex-wife Jen.
Okay, here you go, bringing her up again. Go ahead.
My ex-wife Jen, myself, and my daughter went to a Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs baseball game.
All right.
And they bring the flag out. The girls start singing.
Yeah.
And like a guy, like what was that? I think it was like two guys and a female, like tours from us, were still wearing their baseball cap, sitting down, during the whole anthem.
And why did you just slap him, Jimmy, and say, "Wake up"?
And I'm trying to pay attention, you know what I mean? I'm looking, and I'm back in my mind, I'm like, what the heck is this?
I know, but listen, not everybody is taught the same thing. It's like, okay, let's not get into that because that becomes real, I guess, in terms of society. And I guess we're a reflection of society in many ways when you look at some of these sports. Anyhow, let's move on to another prediction, Dave.
Hey, let me do one thing first, Greg.
Sure, go ahead.
Before you get to that, and that is I just want to make a comment on the preseason and training camp in football.
Yeah, let's talk about
because you brought up an extremely interesting point. Now, I heard someone talk about this about a week and a half or so ago.
All right.
And remembering back in the quote-unquote old days, like maybe 7-8 years ago, preseason football was a gradual increase in the amount of times that your probable starters would play in the preseason. And then the final game, they never played because that was the game that was utilized to determine who got cut.
Exactly. I agree.
They need to go back to that because and I think Le'Veon Bell is the perfect example as to why you do that, because there is something about game speed, game contact. Even these guys were all in training camp.
Right.
And you get hit in training camp a little bit, but it's not like being in the game. And here's the fact.
Okay.
Owners, players union, you got to accept this fact. If they play that game, if they put the pads on and the helmet on their head and go out and play the game, I don't care if it's week 1 of the NFL or if it's in a preseason game, there is a risk that that person will be injured in some way, shape, or form. So does it matter if they get hit and hurt in the first week of the season, or would you rather they get out there and get real game experience during the preseason?
Well, here again, I think you touched on it. I think a lot of that goes back to the union and the CBA. You have to understand the league wanted, 18 games a season? And now we're talking about these people having the ability. I mean, they're making millions. Don't get it twisted. When the owners are making billions. So basically you're working for the man. And he wants you to play 18 games. So those other 4 games, when you're Big Ben Roethlisberger and you have nothing really to prove, you don't want to get hurt, or you're Antonio Brown, the team sort of looks at that as, well, he's a veteran. The union looks at it as, he's a veteran, he's got a little bit of tenure here, and you know what? He'll be in game shape when it comes. Because he's got to play 18 games now. And the other thing is, the union had to agree on that. And these overseas games, which make absolutely, I guess, no sense to the Americans, because I don't care if they play in Guatemala. Now, it may be important to the league, but, you're getting this guy now to travel after a Sunday night game to play a Thursday night game or to play another Sunday night game in another country, another time zone. See how convoluted that can get? So it's a big business.
I think the bottom line is if you want better results in the early part of the season, you got to give your regulars a little more playing time in the preseason.
I agree.
And the fact of the matter is, if you're going to dress them, if they're going to put cleats on, if they're going to put the uniform on, pads and a helmet, there's a risk that they're going to get hurt.
Well,
hell, they could be standing on the sideline and get hurt.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen coaches get rolled up on. Hey, we watched what's his name the one year, the Saints coach. He got rolled up on and it was out for the season. So having said that, Jimmy, let me get to this point on Monday Night Sports Talk. By the way, it's Greg Banks in the studio, Dave Shannon in Altoona, Jimmy Tighe in Hamburg. If you'd like to join us, call us now. We're live, 814-506-0609. That's 814-506-0609. And we welcome our new sister station, Community FM 94.1 FM in Huntingdon. Super Bowl predictions, it might be early, but here it is on the 11th of September. If you can visualize, although it's been said the Steelers could win another Super Bowl, especially after the Patriots got beat the other night, Jimmy, any thought to who might even show up in the Super Bowl this year? Who do you think might just, I don't know, the Raiders could show up? I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, the Raiders, man, they looked good yesterday against Tennessee. So I'm going to go, I'm a Steeler fan. I'm a diehard Steeler fan, but I will say that the Raiders will represent the AFC.
Okay.
And in the NFC, from watching the games yesterday, I'll say the Cowboys in the NFC.
And it's early in the season, Dave, I know. And you really haven't had a chance to watch any of the games yet, Dave. But just kind of like some of the things that you read, perhaps, or maybe seen on the highlight shows, any kind of guesstimate on who might be in there? Because I can go back, listen to this, and say sometime in February, Dave, you were right again.
I'm not that prescient when it comes to the NFL, so I'm because you want me to make a prediction, I'm going to make a prediction and say it'll be Dallas and Kansas City in the Super Bowl.
Okay. All right.
Dallas will win.
And Dallas wins.
35-34 Oakland.
Ah, come on, Jimmy. Here you go. We didn't want this. Okay, it's Monday Night Sports Talk. Greg Banks in the studio, Jimmy Tighe, Hamburg, and we've got Dave Shannon, by the way, in Altoona tonight. Chad States couldn't be with us, and we're going to bring some new people in as the show progresses throughout the season, by the way. This is sort of our soft opening, if you will, the maiden voyage of the 2017 season. You can call us. We're live right now, 814-506-0609. We're going to pump up this number because I want to hear from some of you fans out there, 814-506-0609. 0609. Real quick, Penn State football versus Pitt. Jimmy, I know you are a Pitt fan, and of course, I don't know. I'm just going to throw this out there. Oh my God, Pitt can't stay with Penn State. Penn State just is like, and then James Franklin made a statement, and Narduzzi got a little upset today when Franklin said it was just like playing Akron. Well, he was making a point. He was saying that it was just another opponent, man. Huh?
Okay. All right, here's Pitt should. How can I say this without Penn State fans in Huntingdon getting mad at me?
Well, we won't get mad. Just go ahead, man. If you're a Pitt fan, be loyal to your team. Don't apologize.
All right, we held Penn State to 14 points, and them 14 points were off of a turnover in Penn State's red zone, basically.
Okay.
And another one was just penalty. Pitt receivers couldn't handle the ball.
Right.
Too many stupid penalties on the offensive line.
Okay.
We did hold in the first half. We did the Barkley. I wasn't impressed with Barkley in the first half. But second half, he came alive a little bit. But it was our defense did good. Our offense with Max Brown.
Well, when Brown
not
got
so
knocked
good.
in.
Our running back, our running back, Quadri Olson did good.
Yeah.
But Penn State had a good game plan in keeping Henderson.
Yeah.
A check. And Henderson did nothing in the game. If Henderson would have broke out for a couple huge plays, it would have been a different story. But I have to give kudos to where kudos is from. And Penn State did they game planned well for Quadri Henderson.
Yeah.
But for Franklin to say it's another Akron.
Well, he was making a point. Like every game, the next game up, like for instance, this week we played Georgia State. Dave, you know where Georgia State is?
The thing is,
I think it's in Russia.
That's the thing is about Penn State.
Yeah.
Look at their schedule.
I know.
They played Akron.
Come on, you guys played Youngstown State.
Oh, that's what I'm getting at. They played Akron, okay?
Yeah.
We played Youngstown State.
Right.
Pitt plays Penn State week 2.
You guys have Oklahoma, I think, right? Pitt or this year?
We have the number 11th ranked team in the nation this year at Oklahoma State.
Hey, listen, let me ask you this. When Brown got knocked out, that DiNucci kid looked really good. You think he's going to stay in there at quarterback? Because he's one of those Western Pennsylvania boys. I remember that name.
Pine Richland.
That's right. So do you think they'll keep him in there? Start him?
I would keep him in there. Max Brown, I'm watching him on Saturday. He did not impress me. He had too many overthrows. He wasn't when Max Brown came out of high school, he was the number 1 pocket passer in the country.
Right, okay.
He did not look like that. No wonder why he lost his starting job to a freshman last year at Sam Bernard, who should win the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, okay. I got to give you that. But let me ask Dave this real quick, and I don't know if you watched the game at all, Dave.
The entire game.
Okay, there again, your impressions of Penn State and versus Pitt, because it seemed to me like there's 2 different programs here.
Well, I got to give Pitt a lot of credit after being a sieve defensively a year ago. They're not a sieve now.
Yeah.
That is a much improved defensive unit that they have. Their problem is with offense. And I think it goes down to the quarterback. And I think eventually you're going to find that Brown is going to get into the system that's there and will be able to thrive in it. It's just getting used to it. I mean,
and you have no James Conner either. You have nobody back there running the ball.
Yeah. So what you've got is, and they faced a good Penn State defensive unit as well. Here's one thing, I heard Jimmy say this, but I've noticed this now in several Penn State games. When you're talking about Saquon Barkley.
Right.
Moorhead tends to do this thing with Barkley where it's almost like the first quarter or maybe even a little bit further, he does not want to establish Barkley as the main source of the offense in that team. He wants to do it other ways. And it's to try to lull, I guess maybe you could say it's a rope-a-dope to a degree, where you want to lull the opposition's defense into saying, Barkley's no big deal. And then all of a sudden you turn him loose.
Bada bing, in the second half, man.
Yeah, and this is the way he's utilized him. So although it may have looked like they did a job against Barkley, he was not an integral part of the offense for the first half.
Right.
And they seem to be doing this and I got to give him credit because what that does do in these games where you don't necessarily need him to be going full bore the entire game, go ahead and show him. You have to show him. You got to get him in there and let him play and take reps.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is don't show anybody too much in these early season games to allow them to set up defenses based around Barkley. And then when the regular season comes, you use them as you would use them the entire game and not just a part of the game. That being said, something I think you brought up that was very important, Greg, is this early season stuff. Now, you look at what Ohio State did with their scheduling. Yes, they dropped dramatically in the poll this week because they lost to Oklahoma.
Man, Oklahoma.
The bottom line is it was Oklahoma. Their first game was Florida State. Then it's Oklahoma.
Right.
Penn State, if they want to be a part of the national championship conversation if everyone else is going to start to schedule legitimate preseason games against some of the better teams in the country, Penn State has to change their culture of doing these. Okay, schedule one pushover game, if you want to call it a pushover game.
Right, yeah.
I don't think they think that Pitt's a pushover game. They want to reestablish that rivalry, in-state rivalry, when it comes to Pitt.
I got to believe that.
Bottom line,
I got to believe that schedule was made up when Joyner was still there. Sandy Barber's in there now, so you're probably going to see that thing change.
But
I certainly hope it changes into a much more difficult early season schedule.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you want to be around in the conversation and it looks like we're going to be sticking with this top 4 teams get to, play each other to see who plays for the national championship. If you want to be in that conversation, you have to have a better early season schedule. Your non-conference games have to be, if it's 3 that you have on your schedule, 2 of those 3 have to be against top-notch teams.
Hey, no doubt, because the first 2 weeks I watched Alabama, and I hate Alabama, but it was must-watch TV because you got Florida State the first week. I mean, that's a premier game. And then you have Oklahoma. That's must-see TV. So I had to watch, and I'm sure the ratings were great. Jimmy, if you had to pick a top 4 this week, where does Penn State fall? Do they fall off the charts, or who would be the top 4 teams?
My top 4 teams?
Right.
It would be Alabama, of course. I would put Oklahoma in there. I would put University of Southern Cal, USC in there.
Okay.
And then I would put Clemson in there.
All right.
As my number 4 team, because if you look at what Clemson did, they beat a really good Auburn team, and just like Greg was saying, just like what Dave was saying, these schools got to start scheduling. They got to start scheduling like these top tier games, like what Ohio, like what who is it, like
Alabama
Clemson
did, obviously,
or Oklahoma or Alabama, schools like that. With Penn State, with the way, that's what I was getting at, with the way Penn State's scheduling. Yeah, they played Akron, they played Pitt, which is the rivalry game, if you want to say that, and then they play Georgia Southern.
Yeah, but
instead of playing Georgia Southern, why don't you play a school? Let's say a non-conference school. Let's say maybe Georgia.
Well, these schedules are made up years in advance, Dave. If you had to pick,
but we all know that Georgia Southern is a pushover game.
I know,
and you know that
it's a given.
It's a given. You give somebody $1 million.
Georgia may be down right now. That's not going to continue that way. So you can schedule Georgia on your schedule and know that it's probably going to be a pretty good game.
And if you bring that to Penn State, just like they had over 110,000 there on Saturday, I'll guarantee you that you will have at least, man, I don't know who shows up from Georgia. Where is it? Who are they playing this week?
Georgia played Notre Dame last week.
No, I'm saying
at Notre Dame.
Who is Penn State playing this week? Georgia State? Or
Georgia Southern.
Okay, see, that's what I'm saying. Now we're
at Penn State.
And those guys are probably, damn, Dave, they got to ride the bus to get here.
I know they made that schedule many years ago, right?
Did. You're right.
But they have to look at that like, I had no idea Georgia and Southern even existed.
I'd be like, hey, you know what I would be like? I'd be like, damn. If I'm Sandy Barber coming in after Joyner, I'd be like, damn, Georgia Southern. Hey, give them the $1 million. Tell them don't even come. We'll pick somebody else. You know what I mean? Because that's what you get.
Well, why can't Penn State schedule St. Francis University?
Well, no, I mean, you could do that.
Like.
Yeah, well, we do in basketball, don't we, Dave? Penn State plays
basketball, yeah, but I mean in football. Why if they want a pushover game?
All right, listen.
Why don't they schedule St. Francis? They'll get people up there from Loretto.
All right, we're gonna wrap this segment up, Dave, real quick. Top 4. I mean, Penn State, Jimmy. For many people, they say they ought to be number 4 this week. We'll talk about that next week, Dave. Any idea, starting Alabama down, who would be the top 4 this week?
I'm going to go with pretty much what the polls actually have it at this particular point, and that, of course, is Alabama at the top. Oklahoma, I think they deserve to be second. Clemson, I'm a little on the fence about, as far as they go. USC is legit. And maybe you could say Penn State would be 4th. That's if you want to diss Clemson, based on their performance.
And that's
but
based
a lot
on
of
Ohio
people are
State,
dissing.
Yeah.
A lot of people are dissing Penn State because of their performance against Pitt. They should have had a much better performance against Pitt. They didn't, and so they dropped down.
All right.
So I mean, do you want to drop like Ohio State did from number 2 down to number 8 in the AP poll? Mm-hmm. Or do you want to drop one position because you didn't beat a team you should have beaten by as big a score as people thought you were going to? That's the question. And once again, getting back to, if you want to talk about the national championship,
right,
and if everybody's going to start to buy in to scheduling their early season non-conference games against top opponents, then that's what you have to do. You have to get in that part of the game quickly.
Right. Hey, by the way, we're going to wrap this part up, but anyhow, we'll talk more about football coming up. More importantly, coming up, of course, we'll talk about the hunt for October. We'll talk a little bit about what's happening in ice camp this week. And we'll even talk about some high school football because Dave knows all about that, especially Bearcat football. It's Monday Night Sports Talk. If you want to get in, call us now, 814-506-0609. That's 506-0609. Outside of PA, give us a call, 814-506-0609, or hit us up on Skype at GregBanks3. Listen, dudes, I got to go get a beer. I'll be back. Give me at least 2 minutes. We'll see you on the flip side here on Monday Night Sports Talk on the airnetwork.net and 94.1 FM.
DC Goodman & Sons and the Goodman family are committed and dedicated to excellence by supporting quality education and athletics for all youth of Huntingdon County. For over 3 generations, DC Goodman & Sons and their staff of quality tradesmen have provided excellent service in the installation of plumbing, mechanical and industrial piping, electrical, and fire sprinkler systems. Residential services are also available. DC Goodman & Sons and the Goodman family will continue to serve the community, and thank you for your support. The Goodman family wishes you the best to all area students in your pursuit of excellence.
The Huntingdon Moose Family Center 223 is the heart of the community. Becoming a member of the Huntingdon Moose enables you an opportunity to join friends who have served the community for over 100 years. Enjoy all the summer activities and check out our Facebook page or website for more information. The Huntingdon Moose Family Center 223, serving the community with the best value in town. Join today.
Sometimes facts are hard to face. Statistics show that obesity is a problem in the United States, and it's not getting any better. At Simone Family Chiropractic, we understand this problem. We also know that obesity leads to very serious health problems later in life. There is a way to cleanse your body and get back to optimum health. It is called the Doctor-Supervised Chirothin System, and it teaches you how and what to eat in the real world. Call us at Simone Family Chiropractic at 814-643-2616, or stop in and see us at 613 Washington Street in Huntingdon, across from All American Pizza, or find us on Facebook.
Call Austin Smith Heating and Plumbing for affordable heating, plumbing, and drain cleaning services in Huntingdon. Count on 12 years of insured excellent service when it comes to heating, plumbing, ventilation, and drain cleaning. Call Austin Smith Heating and Plumbing, available evenings and weekends at an affordable rate. Call 814-506-5128. That's 506-5128 for Austin Smith Heating and Plumbing in Huntingdon. It's Monday Night Sports Talk, our maiden voice for the 2017 season, here on the airnetwork.net and live in Huntingdon tonight at 94.1 FM. Glad to have you folks listening to us. The home of the Huntingdon Bearcats. Bearcats, by the way, on the road on Friday as they take on the Bison of Clearfield. Pre-game show, 6:45. Kickoff set for 7 o'clock. And our very own voice of the Huntingdon Bearcats, Dave Shannon, will bring you all the action with Chad States. By the way, Dave is with us tonight. Dave, how you doing there in Altoona, man? You having fun with the Bearcats?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very enjoyable thing. You know, over the course of the summer, I was working with the Jamestown Jammers baseball team, and we ended up in the postseason and lost the championship game in the end. But that was a great time, and I've jumped from one championship team to what is potentially another championship team in the Bearcats.
Hey, you'd be happy to notice I got an email the other night from Heather Border, Ian's mother. She was so excited at the game. She said, Greg, I always listen to the game on Saturdays. What time is it on again? Well, listen, we play these games back ad nauseum, Dave. There's got to be a point somebody's going to say, geez, is that game on again? But listen, we have so many people listening, not just in town, but nationally. We have friends from Huntingdon and Montana, North Carolina. We had a guy in Switzerland last year, Roger Briggs, whose son, Ben Briggs, plays for the Bearcats. He was listening while he was at work in Sweden. So they do listen. So anyhow.
Amazing.
Yeah, we're excited about the technology, and we'll tell you more about what will be happening here at the airnetwork.net. As we're joined by Jimmy Tighe, by the way, the fantasy football guy from down there in Hamburg, PA, and Dave Shannon in Altoona. Jimmy, we didn't touch on fantasy football yet, but listen, who are some of the guys we got to watch for in the NFL? Just give me a couple of names, because you always give us some of these guys in fantasy football.
Like Alfred Blue?
Yeah, well, whatever happened to Alfred? Is he working at like Walmart now or what?
No, he's still with the Texans, Greg.
But he's not on your list, okay?
Not on the.
Who's on your list?
Player to watch is Michael Thompson of New Orleans.
Tonight, by the way, getting
underway now.
Against the
Saints.
Yeah.
of course, you have Jason Witten.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, he had 18.9 points yesterday, 7 receptions, 59 yards, and a touchdown. Look at Randall Cobb because everybody's going to be looking at Jordy Nelson.
Okay.
You can get a Randall Cobb.
And one more name, Jimmy, so we can wrap up that segment. One more fantasy guy that we need to be watching this year in the NFL.
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp. Remember that, Dave. Cooper Kupp. Related to Albert Bloom. He's related.
He plays for the Los Angeles Rams.
Okay.
He's a rookie.
Kupp. Yeah.
He had 4 receptions, 76 yards, and a touchdown.
He just probably had a good game, Jimmy. So if I put him on, you think he's going to be sustaining?
He is the number one receiver for the Rams.
Okay, all right. We'll look for Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp.
Oh, yeah, Cooper Kupp. It sounds like something you play for in a NASCAR race, Jim. Hey, but Dave, let me ask you this: the hunt for October is on. You pretty much wash your hands of the Pirates, so we're not even going to talk about them, even though Clint Hurdle re-signed that contract. And some of the other people, they'll be there for a while, and we'll be in misery. But Cleveland Indians, man, you got to be watching them. They've won like 18 in a row. You've got guys like Giancarlo Stanton, who now is, 54 home runs. Man, there's got to be – who's in this thing for the World Series? That's all I want to know. Because here we are coming into October, man.
Surprisingly, it may not be the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah,
the NL Central has turned into an amazing race, and the Pirates are a part of that tonight in the fact that they're playing the Milwaukee Brewers. Mm-hmm. And with that in mind, by the way, the Pirates are leading that game by a score of 2-0.
There it is.
In the first inning, a 2-run homer by Andrew McCutchen.
Ooh,
so it was kind of amazing for me to watch some of the goings on of the Pirates. Here's the bottom line, though. And in order for this team to be a success, I'm sorry, whatever you feel about the ownership group of the Pirates,
right,
you have to spend the money and get at least
the players.
One legitimate they have enough position players to last them for a while. They need a frickin' starting pitcher. Get off your dead rump, get the wallet out of your pocket, and get yourself a good starter, please.
Well, the reason
that being said, the hunt for October is going to be an exciting one. The NL Central, Cubs, Brewers, Cardinals. Okay, and just a couple of weeks ago, the Cardinals and the Pirates had very similar records.
Right.
And you see what happens, the difference between the two teams. Here's the Cardinals. They're back in it. Yeah. They're only 2 games back. The Brewers are just 2 games back. And the Cubs really don't look like a championship team.
No, they're having a rough time.
That's up for grabs. One team I'm extremely confused by are the Los Angeles Dodgers. The team that had a 20-game lead just about a month ago has been whittled down to 10 games. Now, the Dodgers are going to be there.
Yeah.
The question is, which Dodgers are you going to run into in the postseason? Is it the Dodgers that went from April till basically the middle of August? Or is it the Dodgers from the middle of August to now? Because it's going to be a one and done for the Dodgers if they play that way.
And I can't even blame that on the California Fires, that one. I mean, that's just happening, man.
No, absolutely
Arizona.
not.
Yeah, Arizona's there, too. Jimmy, let me get your impression.
So's Colorado.
In October, Jimmy, who do you see emerging from the National League and then the American League? Who are those teams that we're going to be watching here?
Like I just mentioned before, Arizona Diamondbacks. What they do, Dave? 13 straight?
Ooh,
or 14 straight, something like that. And they swept the Dodgers.
I didn't hear either one of you mention the Indians. They're on an 18 run.
They're
that's American.
Okay.
And you look at the another National League team, a team that just clinched the East, and the Washington Nationals.
There you go. Okay. And I don't know.
They have the pitching, they have the hitting, they have it all in Washington. So maybe the Washington Nationals. You look at the American League, the Houston Astros is a team in the American League, 80 wins.
Yeah.
You look at the Cleveland Indians,
right.
With their win streak, which they are 2 wins shy of the record of the Oakland A's. And that was this Oakland A's team that they made the Brad Pitt movie Moneyball.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Chad's not here tonight, but is there any mention, or can anybody see the Yankees?
No.
Okay. Dave, let me ask you this. Yankees and Red Sox, they whine all the time. Okay, now the Red Sox have used some kind of technology using Apple Watches. We're stealing signs.
Stealing signs.
Dave, we've been stealing signs forever. I mean, what's the deal? Because they're using Apple Watches and it's against New York, the Big Apple? I mean, what is that all about? It's been going on forever.
Yeah, well, and Major League Baseball is a conundrum anymore on itself.
Tell me
they
about
keep
it.
getting involved in these things where they want to do, they want to keep some of the old stuff, but they want to go into this new stuff, and they're very strange. I've not thought much about the leadership of Major League Baseball for quite a while now. The best thing I guess you could say they did over the past 20 years or so, past couple of decades, was to come up with the 3-division setup and a wild card, because look at the wild card and what's available in the American League right now. How many teams are still in contention for the postseason at this point?
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
Yeah,
that is a very good thing.
Interesting statement Rob Manfred said last week in that whole debacle with he said, so what?
Stealing signs.
Yeah, what am I doing? What can I do about that? It happens all the freaking time. Just because you're using an Apple Watch and somebody figured it out, it seems to me you have to relay that information rather quickly. And the fact that it happened in New England, of all places, where they're used to stealing stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, there's a culture,
right,
obviously, in the Boston area that leads them to do whatever it takes.
Beantown. Okay.
It would be like this. It would be the same thing as if a guy was standing on second base.
Right.
Right. He's looking at the catcher. He throws the signs down. The guy on second base just puts his hand on the helmet.
Right.
Hey, this is going to be a fastball.
Rubs his ear.
This is going to be this. You know what I mean? That's the same, you know what I mean? But they don't say anything like that, or he pulls his pant leg.
And let me ask you this real quick. We'll get out of that, but this Stanton, man. Jimmy, Jim, let me ask the Dave first. I mean, is this guy juiced, man, or is this just is this natural? Is this something that we don't have to add an asterisk to it because he's just been doing it so long, and he could end up with 70 homers this year? I don't know. I mean, is this guy for real?
I think, Giancarlo Stanton is the real deal. That's who he is. He's a guy that works out, obviously spends a good deal of time on his upper body.
Yeah.
And that's just natural workout because, believe me, at some point, maybe several points during the course of this season, he's been paid a visit in the quote-unquote random drug test.
Oh, I'm sure he's peed in a cup or two, yeah.
Yeah, that occur in Major League Baseball, and nothing has been found. And, now it used to be, and everyone will talk about Barry Bonds from now till the cows come home about whether, what he was using and all this stuff.
His head got big.
There was a physical change in him.
Oh, no
but
doubt.
That changed when Ryan Braun was found to be on steroids. And Ryan Braun in no way, shape, or form looked like the stereotypical steroid user.
No.
Yet he was on performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah.
Starling Marte of the Pirates. Starling he was not the biggest guy, but you could see a change in him in his upper body, and eventually then he was caught using performance-enhancing drugs.
But you're right about that thing with Bonds, man. His hat size just grew like 10
Oh, yeah.
I
used to hear people refer to him as Peanut Head because his head resembled a peanut.
I've had babies. I've seen babies born with big heads, and they grow into it. There was no way this dude was just growing into his head because I had seen him in 1991 down at Bradenton.
Well, look at any of the early career Pirates games that he was in, and he in no way, shape, or form resembled what he was at the end of his career.
Yeah, the dude looked like he couldn't even gain any weight. So having said that, Jimmy, as far as you're concerned, this Stanton's for real too, like Dave said.
God, yeah, that dude. You put him in, man. He's a workout machine, and like Dave said, they probably tested him just like they probably tested Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees.
And I was going to say, boy, he's a guy to watch in the future too. That guy he reminds me of, and I hate to say this, Alex Rodriguez or some of the greats from the Yankees.
For me, more of a Dave Winfield.
Oh yeah,
he's got that Winfield look to him.
Yeah, he does. So anyhow, that's baseball for this week on the airnetwork.net. You can call us 814-506-0609. But as we wrap up the last couple of minutes, Dave, Penguins got to be in camp. I was telling you, and we probably hurt your feelings. when Jimmy and I were telling you that the Cup was in Johnstown, that Dana Heinze, their trainer, took it there again this year, and all his friends got to put their babies in it, and one guy even kissed his girlfriend over it. God only knows what happens with that Cup, but listen, what's happening at camp as we wrap things up on this week, they got to be looking pretty healthy and might have some new players this year.
Well, they definitely, one of the things that was just announced, Chris Letang has been cleared to play.
Oh,
He's
good.
been cleared for full duty with the Penguins. So that's going to be a big part of it. And a lot of people have been worried because of the amount of losses that the team took.
Yeah.
And as far as free agency goes. And that is a big question. But you look at what's left, and it's still not a bad team at all. You know, one of the guys I hated to see go was Chris Kunitz, because he and Crosby had been together on a line, mostly on, but sometimes off and on, mostly on, over the course of the time that he's been there. It was so tough to see that he was going to be gone. But the bottom line, Chris Kunitz changed, his role changed with the Penguins over the course of time. He was a big part of the offense, had a big goal in the Stanley Cup playoffs,
right?
But he was not the offensive point machine that he was in earlier years. He had turned into more of a grinded out, gritty, hit the other team kind of guy as his career has gone on. So although I hated to see him go, I get it. I understand that one. Trevor Daley, I always liked him since they picked him up, but he's gone. A little bit of disappointment. Matt Cullen goes. And it's not that Matt Cullen left and retired, which is what I thought. How in the heck? And, okay, so Minnesota's his home state, blah, blah, blah. So he's going to go play for the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
But if it were me, how do you want to go out? You want to go out on top. What did you just do? Win 2 Stanley Cups.
Right.
Go out on top, Matty. But anyway, hey, they got Antti Niemi in for another backup goalie for Matt. Yeah. And so that's going to be a big deal there. And eventually Tristan Jarry will be there. I think Niemi's just a one-season cushion.
Right.
For Pat Murray.
We're running out of time, but let's.
I would like to say, Steve Jackson.
Hello.
Your buddy Steve Jackson said Houston and Washington in the World Series.
Oh, did he send that out on Twitter or something?
He sent it out, yeah.
On Facebook.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. We appreciate it. He listens over in Smithfield, PA. Hey, listen, we got to wrap up tonight, Dave. We'll talk more about the Penguins because it's another exciting season coming up. Hey, meanwhile, have fun on the road, you and Chad, on Friday night for the Huntingdon Bearcat-Clearfield game. That's going to be a hell of a game, man.
Yeah, big season changer, perhaps, for the Bearcats.
And listen, by the way, 6:45 p.m. on Friday, the pregame show, followed by kickoff at 7 o'clock with Dave Shannon and Chad States here on the airnetwork.net and 94.1. Hey, thanking both you, Jimmy Tighe, and Dave Shannon for joining us tonight, guys. Thanks again. Let's do it next Monday, okay? All right.
Yep.
That wraps up our first edition for the season of course, Monday Night Sports Talk, or as Chad States likes to call it, Monday Night Sports Banter. You can always banter by calling us at 814-506-0609. We will rebroadcast this show ad nauseum throughout the week. Thank you for listening. Good night, everybody. Okay, that's a wrap.
Hey, how do we do, Greg?
Sounded great, man. Sounded great. Let me make sure I turn this recorder off. Yeah, Steve Jackson, I went to school with him. He's the